I am happy to welcome in Sports Illustrated's Michael Bamberger and Alan Shipnuck. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me. So, Michael, let's talk about Erin Hills as a venue for the U.S. Open. What do we think about it?
Well, it's a fabulous idea that they're bringing to Erin Hills. Alan and I played it a number of years ago on a very hot, steamy day. The proof will be in the pudding. You know, Chambers Bay, they had two years ago at Chambers Bay, a true public golf course. This is a true public golf course, not a resort course, not a high-end course. It's in the great state of Wisconsin, which, you know, along with Minnesota, is one of the unheralded great states for golf. But whether it's really worthy of a U.S. Open, we don't know yet. Whether it's an impossible walk yet, I'm worried about it. We don't know yet. We'll find out.
Just be prepared to hear the term kettle moraine, because as we all know, Erin Hills was shaped by these glaciers and they left behind the dunes. And so it's like a geology lesson as much as a golf tournament. So I think it's a unique venue. I like the fact that it's a public course and we've all been playing it for a number of years. I think the average golfer might know more about it than the tour pros at this point, which is kind of fun. So I agree with Michael. It's a risk. It's not a traditional venue. It's not a traditional state to take the tournament to. So it's going to be a fascinating event. You know, we saw with Chambers Bay, you never know what's going to happen. And I think Erin Hills is very much in that vein.
I'm glad that you brought up that risk. So let's talk about that. What is at stake for Erin Hills, given all of the stuff and the controversy and complaints we saw about Chambers Bay as a host for the U.S. Open?
It's really hard to get into the Open Rota, and you get one chance. And if you mess it up, you might not ever get invited back. And I mean, the U.S. Open is stacked up through 2026 with the Pebble Beaches and the Shinnecocks and the Oakmonts of the world. So this is really a very important audition for Erin Hills. If you don't make a good first impression, that could be it. And it doesn't take away from the fact you've hosted an Open, but if it's one and done, I think it loses a little bit of a luster. So there's a lot at stake for Erin Hills.
Do you agree, Michael?
Well, in ways, yes. You know, the biggest statement for Erin Hills is, can it be a sustainable golf course for public golf course golfers? This place is sort of in the middle of nowhere. It's a drive to get there. Can this one U.S. Open be successful enough that this course can be sustained for the next 100 years as a true public course that ordinary public golfers are going to want to play? Not just the occasional destination, but everyday golfers.
So considering all of those things, why do we think the USGA is taking this risk? What do they have to prove to bring a course like Erin Hills, which is a departure from the traditional venues that the U.S. Open has visited? What do they have to prove? It's a
great question. I think the core of the USGA's recognition here is that public golf is where it's at, to use some bad grammar. Very, very few people in this world are going to get to play Shipnuck Hills or Oakmont. Anyone with, you know, $100 in a credit card can go play Erin Hills. And the USGA is recognizing that the organization needs to make itself one with the public golfer.
There's also a certain desperation to find a Midwest venue for the Open. They tend to be either in California or along the eastern seaboard. And so I think there's just a recognition that the national championship has to be played throughout America. You can't just play it on the coast. And so maybe they're grasping for straws. We'll see. But it's definitely, I think that was one of the drivers, is we have to find somewhere in the flyover to play the Open.
And I think we should add to that, because we have, and you and I know this from being there, it's spectacularly beautiful. And public golf course shouldn't be, and often isn't, you know, baked out flat fairways with little traps. This is a championship golf course with deep traps, undulating greens, long carries. It's a difficult, hard golf course, as it needs to be for a U.S. Open, but it's first class all the way. And I think it's neat that the USGA has recognized that, and that all through Scotland and England and Wales, the great private courses are also basically open to the public. That's never been a model of ours in this country. Alan and I have talked about this and often, you know, why that is the case, but it doesn't need to be the case. And this is making a very important statement in that regard, too.
Well, great. I mean, lots to look forward to. Obviously, we're going to see what happens with Erin Hills and if that is, in fact, a success. Michael, Alan, thank you so much for joining me.